Don't you think this is manual and repetitive task? Is it their core responsibility? Probably no, but still they are investing time into these kind of manual processes, isn't it? Can you just ask your development team not to integrate, not to build, just focus on writing down piece of code because that's what you are responsible for? Can we ask them? No. Why? Because these manual processes are critically important. Unless and until they integrate and they build, we won't be able to move ahead. So this is something I am referring as an operations, right? Now, just like you, within your development team, you do have these kind of phases or these kind of manual processes which development team is doing manually. Don't you think just like that, every other team may have some certain manual processes which they are doing manually, apart from their core responsibilities? Yes or no? Every team must be having these kind of things, right? So that is something I am referring to as an operations. And whatever every team is doing in their crux, that's what we say development. Good. Now, take a scenario. Assume you have one project which requires 100 hours of development, okay? Which requires 100 hours of development. All right. Now, your development team every day, how many hours they will be working? Approximately. Now, assume for 5 hours, they are actually doing the development, and for 3 hours, they are investing their time into these manual operations. And the project that you have requires 100 hours of development. Okay. Now, considering this scenario, how many days you will require to deliver this? 20 days? Now, assume, just assume that you somehow, because of some X mechanism, somehow you automated this integrate and build process. Somehow you automated it. Somehow, magically. So what does it mean? Your development team, do they need to invest these 3 hours every day into these operations now, as now you have automated? No, correct? What does it mean? They can write their piece of code for 8 hours, right? Now, with this scenario, how many days you will require, guys? 12 or 13 days, correct? Right? Now, think about this. Did you upskill your team? No.
No.
Did you change the scope of the project? No.
No.
Did you change any technology? No. Did you added more number of people?
Yeah. Mhm.
No.
No.
Still, you are able to deliver much more faster than your previous scenario. Yes or no? Isn't it a purely profit in terms of resources, technology, skills, time, like cost? Everything is getting saved, right? And who will not want it? Correct? So this is exactly why we need DevOps. And how to automate? That's what basically DevOps is. Think about this. Can you have only one tool to automate all the processes or from all the team? Or
Yes.
let me rephrase this. Can you have one medicine for all the diseases?
No.
No, correct? So just like that, depending upon for which team, what is the need, what is the operation, what is the manual process we are trying to automate, don't you think we will require a specialized or different set of tools? That's exactly why we do have different tools to automate for different manual processes, right? How? So now first think about this. So design, let's take an infrastructure team. What does your infrastructure team do? They create, they configure or provision, and they maintain the infrastructure wherever it would be. on premises, on cloud, or wherever it would be. Your infrastructure team goes ahead, they provision, configure, and maintain your infrastructure, right? So have you thought about it? Most of the time, probably, depending upon your technical stack, you will be generating the same requirements for your infrastructure team. Yes or no? Assume if you're using Java, .NET, or whatever technology, I mean, for this particular scenario or project, you probably might be asking same type of infrastructure over and over again, correct? We need Java server, we need Tomcat server, we need database. I mean, typically, yes or no, right? And every time your infrastructure team will have to invest lot of time creating the same server, which they might have probably created just a week back. But this time, as they are doing manually, as they are creating manually, they will have to start right from scratch and invest the same amount of time. Yes or no? Correct? So to automate these kind of operations for your infrastructure team, we do have one specific set of category of tools. And what we call it? Any idea? Have you heard about this? So this category is infrastructure as code. And what tools like falls under infrastructure as a code category, which help us to automate all these operations?
Terraform.
Exactly. We do have Terraform, Ansible, Chef,
Chef.
Puppet, SaltStack, and many more. Many more. I'm just writing down which are just popularly getting utilized or just popularly known names. Okay. So apart from whatever I am writing down here, there are many other tools available. Now, development. Okay. Um, can it be automated completely? Ah, absolutely not. Why? Because think about this. It's a self loop. Even if you try to create a platform which will do the development automatically, you will still require developers to develop and maintain that platform. Correct? So, and some people even try to do that. That's why you can see there are some platforms available which are low code or no code platforms. Correct? Low code or no code platforms. Correct? But they do have their own set of limitations. Right? So development, obviously, it's an ongoing thing. Cool. Now, to integrate, what kind of set of categories we do have? Version control systems. Examples are Git, GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, right?
Okay.
Even from older days, SVN, CVS,
CVM.
kind of,
Yeah.
right? So these are what? These are integration tools or basically version control system. And what they do, they help us with integrating the code, correct? They help us with integrating the code so that we don't need to integrate it manually. Now build. Now, conceptually, you understood that what is a build process. Now, you also understand that this build process is basically dependent on the technology. That's why to automate that, we do have a set of category. That's what we say build tools or build servers. Okay, build tools or build servers. Now, what are these set of tools? So Gradle. Yes, right? So these are what? These are build tools or build servers. And what do they help us with? They help us with building or creating a deployable package for us. Now, next, test. So practically speaking, whose responsibility is this to test something? Testing team, or we call them QA team, quality analysis team, right? So depending upon your type of testing you do, testing itself has many types, right? functional testing, UI testing, smoke testing, and whatnot, right? So depending upon what kind of testing that your organization does, right, you do have some certain tools available, right? And what we call them? We call them automation testing tools. Okay. Popular is Selenium, which helps us with what? Automating the
Backend.
UI testing. Correct? Selenium, QTP, right? You have some certain other frameworks, TDD frameworks, to go ahead and to write down your test cases, right? For example, uh, Cucumber, right? Mocha, Kai, Jasmine, Karma. These are what? These are kind of framework which allows you to go ahead and to automate your testing, right? But again, whose responsibility is this to go ahead and even like, if you want to even automate it, whose responsibility that would be? It would be a responsibility of your testing team. Now, once you tested it, now depending upon the result, correct? If testing is successful, yes or no? It is subjective. If testing is successful, then you will go and you will deploy that, correct? If it is not successful, then what you're gonna do? You will send it back to your development team, informing them that we tested this deployable package and it is not working as expected, correct? With the observations. If it is not successful, and then you will all your development team will resolve the bugs. Again, it will go through integration and build phase, and then you will again test it till the time testing is successful. That's what generally happens, guys.
Yes.
Right? Cool. Now, let's say once you want to deploy that, what kind of set of tools that we will use? So for deployment, we again use IAC tools. Okay. Which IAC tools now we are referring to? The same, right? Okay. We will use IAC tools. Got it? Now, once you deploy, okay, we have a monitoring phase. Now, monitoring or observability also has its own set of types, right? Depending upon the needs. For example, monitor or observe. What you want to monitor? If you want, then you can even monitor your applications, your microservices, or whatnot, right? Or you can just limit your observability strategy up to infrastructure only. That is fine. But depending upon need, whatever you want to monitor, we have different types of monitoring or observability solutions available. And we generally call them what? Monitoring stack. Okay. Monitoring tool or monitoring stack. So when we say monitoring tool, means what? One single tool. And when we say monitoring stack, it means a combination of multiple tools which helps us to monitor the infrastructure or the application, right? So what are the examples of these monitoring tools or monitoring stacks? So the examples are,
Yeah.
for example, ELK. And what is that ELK? Is it a monitoring tool or monitoring stack? It's a stack. Correct. E stands for Elasticsearch, L for Logstash, K for Kibana,
Kibana.
right? Then we have TIG stack, we have Prometheus, Telegraph, Influx, and Grafana, right? We have Nagios, we have Thanos, and there are so many. Or even, yes, CloudWatch, a song from the Cloud family, correct? So there are these many things. What all tools falls into place in what phases? Now, think about this. If you use any one tool from each category to automate that particular phase, do you think all the operations will be automated in your product or in your project? So the answer is everything is done? Ah, quite not. And why is that? Now think about this, guys. When we talked about these pillars or these phases of SDLC, so did you observe this SDLC has two specific characteristics? What is that? So these two specific characteristics are, first is, don't you think all these phases must happen in some certain sequence only? Can you build before you develop? No. Can you deploy before you build it? No.
no,
So it must happen in some certain sequence only. Correct? That is one. And second characteristics is, don't you think here you are using the output from the previous stage? Meaning what? Whatever you will develop, that's what you will integrate. Yes or no? Whatever you will integrate, that's what you will build. Whatever you will build, that's what you will test. Yes or no? Who will pass on this output of this stage to the next stage? Who will pass it on, guys? I mean, all these tools which we are referring now, those will help us to automate these operations internally to the. I mean, this version control system will help you to automate to automatically integrate. But who will pass that output to build phase? Correct? Maven will take the input and will generate a deployable package. But who will pass that package to testing team? Don't you think we will have to do that manually now again? Which will defeat the purpose. I mean, if we have to do it manually, why to adopt all these things now then? Correct? So that's why we require something to take care of these two characteristics. And that's what we say integration server. Okay. What an integration server will do? Integration server will only do two things. First is what? First is making sure that all these steps must happen in the given sequence. And second thing, it will make sure to pass the output of previous stage as an input to the next stage. Only two things, right? And what are the examples of integration servers then? Jenkins, Circle CI, TeamCity. Once you have integration servers and all these things in place, don't you think this part, right? Right from your development till here, for simplicity, automatically it will happen, right? Automatically once you develop it, automatically it gonna go ahead, it gonna integrate, build, right? And as soon as it is built, automatically it gonna go ahead, it gonna test and deploy. Correct? So this part, this blue highlighted one, that's what we say what? CI stands for continuous integration, right? And this part here, we talk about what? CD stands
CICD.
for continuous delivery or continuous deployment. And combination of these both, popularly we call it CI/CD pipeline, where CD stands for continuous delivery or continuous deployment. Now, what is the difference between continuous delivery and deployment? In the industry, you can categorize probably multiple organizations into two categories, product based and service based. You can categorize, right? There are two types of industries. Now, when we talk about continuous deployment, understand this. Have you even taking, have you even thought about this? I mean, take an example of Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, all these, product based organizations. Have they ever gave something or asked as an approval from you? We want to deploy this new feature. Should we? So when is the last time you got an email from Gmail? Oh, we want to deploy this new feature. What do you think about this? Never. They do have their own set of criteria. to make sure the things, and if it is satisfied, they will go and they will just deploy that. This is where we say it continuous deployment. And if we talk about continuous delivery, take an example of service industry. Can you just deploy a feature just because it is finished and tested on production without having an approval or consent from your customer or your client? We cannot. Exactly. Now there are ways to take an approval. You can take it manually. You can just integrate that as a part of CI/CD pipeline. Depends, right? But without consent, you cannot deploy. So this kind of automation, we call it what? Continuous delivery, right? So now if you think, if you deploy that without any consent or without any approval, what will happen? The moment you do this, you will get deployed too, right? Correct? So that's the difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment.
Yeah.
So CI/CD pipeline, all set of tools and categories. Everyone understood completely?